Hey, all right, welcome back to another wonderful day here at MSA. So glad you could be here. Glad you could join us, because guess what? This don't make sense. Is Mike Johnson being blackmailed? That's the big question right now. It's a huge question. When you look at it the way that some of the things are turning out, it's not the Mike Johnson that we know. Now, before we get into all this, do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe. You already know the drill, and you know why. If you don't hit that like button, algorithms don't get out. Our channel's not going to grow at all. So we really need you to hit the like button. Definitely follow us, subscribe, whatever it is on the button that you're pushing. If you're watching us on YouTube, appreciate you doing that. And if you're watching us on Rumble, you got to tap that screen to make sure that we get credit for you watching the video, as well as hit that thumbs up. You don't hit the thumbs up, it's like nothing ever happened. So, into this thing. Tucker Carlson was interviewing Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they were talking about a lot of things that are going on, and the question gets brought up about Mike Johnson. Is he getting blackmailed? Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to go into a few things. She's going to list it and let you know what Mike Johnson all of a sudden is for, which doesn't make any sense because as we know Mike Johnson to be a conservative, as well as a very devout Christian, we know for a fact that he has morals and values that he won't go against. And some of the things that he's voting in and standing behind really go against all of that. But you know what? Don't take it from me. Take it from this first clip that we're going to roll with a little bit of Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we'll see what you think from there. So just hang in there. We'll be right back.
Is it a little weird to see an American Speaker of the House pay closer attention to a foreign leader, or a number of different foreign leaders, than he would to his own voters and colleagues in the House, in our legislative body?
Yeah, absolutely, especially considering Mike Johnson has completely changed his character in a matter of about 5 months after he has become Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson is a Christian. He called himself a conservative, always has been. He's a Republican member, but yet here we are after the minibus was passed just almost 2 weeks ago in Washington. And now with the $60 billion going to a war in Ukraine that 70% of Americans do not support it. That's the most recent polling. 70% of Americans and the majority of Republicans do not support funding Ukraine. People want to see a peace deal in Ukraine, not murdering more Ukrainians and more Russians. This needs to end. But no, Mike Johnson has made a complete departure of who he is and what he stands for. And to the point where people are literally asking, is he blackmailed? What is wrong with him? Because he's completely disconnected with what we want.
Do you think he is being blackmailed?
I have no idea. I can't comprehend, Tucker, what radically changes a man. I mean, if we break down the second part of basically an omnibus, let's break that down. So Mike Johnson is pro-life. In the second part of the omnibus, just less than 2 weeks ago, he funded full-term abortion clinics. Full-term abortion clinics. He funded the trans agenda on children. I mean, how does that even happen from a Christian conservative Republican speaker? He did nothing for the southern border, did nothing to secure the border. And this comes on the heels of Laken Riley being brutally murdered. This came on the heels of a video that was running on loop on social media where illegal aliens had rushed our border, ran over Texas National Guard, ran over Border Patrol agents in order to invade our country. These were military-aged men, by the way. He did nothing to secure a border. It's the number one issue in the world. He completely changed who he was, funded the FBI, gave him a brand new building, fully funded the Department of Justice that is persecuting everyone on the right and actually targeting our presidential candidate for election this year, literally trying to put him in jail the rest of his life. We don't know who Mike Johnson is anymore, so there's I can't comprehend it.
You see what I mean right there? It doesn't make sense, does it? You look at the things that Marjorie's talking about and how she's listing off the things that all of a sudden Mike Johnson's in favor of. And let's just back up the train for a second. We're going to go right back to when McCarthy got ousted. McCarthy's out. Johnson gets voted in to be speaker. And immediately people are like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy is a massive Bible thumper. And legislatively, we don't know which direction he's going to go because this could cause major problems for him to be Speaker of the House because he won't let anything go through. And then, the course of the things keep going forward and all that, and we've seen Johnson step up, and we know how he's felt about, let's take one topic, full-term abortion. Okay, we know Mike Johnson has stated he is totally against it. Okay, and if you don't know, most conservatives are against full-term abortion. It's not just because you're taking a life. It's what they do with the fetuses. I'm not going to get into all that. And you know what? I suggest some of you don't even look to find out what they do, because it'd probably infuriate you. Maybe you should. I don't know. Either way, let's continue on with this. When it comes to the border, Mike Johnson's funding the border now to get more money towards the border. That's not even close to the truth. Mike Johnson's the one in a committee that pointed out that they wanted all the illegals to come in because they wanted them to be able to vote in all the local elections. Mike Johnson's the one that came up with that. Mike Johnson knows for a fact that the border's got to be closed, and he's been saying it for a long time. And to see him shift like this, it doesn't make any sense. Again, makes sense America, right? And this don't make sense. It makes you start to wonder what is really going on, because as the narrative is approaching our election, okay, let's call it that. As the narrative is approaching the election of what the Democratic Party wants to really do, and how we're looking at their whole agenda for the longest time has been a singular government. And if you don't understand that, then we really need to sit down and talk more often. But since we're on this video and we're talking about Mike Johnson being blackmailed, I'm going to start leaning in the direction that he could possibly be. But you know what? Let's roll one more clip real quick. This is going to be Tucker's going to ask Marjorie a question. This clip's, it's not super long, but it's not super short. She's going to repeat a couple of the things that she's already said. And then she's going to say something that makes total sense. So do me a favor, and we'll be right back.
Well, I have noticed, just from living in Washington for so long, that a lot of the top decision makers are lying about their personal lives. And there's something, really amiss there. Mm-hmm. I would definitely say Mitch McConnell would be among those. And there does seem to be a connection between the creepiness of your personal life and the deception around your personal life and your willingness to vote with the other side. I mean, have you noticed this at all?
Absolutely. And I think it's something that the American people are extremely aware of, because none of it makes sense. Yeah. How do you become Speaker of the House? And let's look at that. It's basically like there's Establishment Washington runs like a company. We could call it the firm. Well, Mike Johnson just got promoted to senior partner at the firm because he has been obeying their every single demand. He funded the military. He funded the military-industrial complex and everything that they want done. He funded Biden's open border invasion. He funded the Green New Deal, the climate agenda. He funded full-term abortion clinics, the trans agenda on kids. He funded every single thing that the firm stands for and what they're trying to push on the rest of the world. This is the agenda for the rest of the world, and they're not hiding it one single bit. We saw the White House declare Easter Trans Day of Visibility, which is the biggest insult, slap in the face to Christians all over our country. And that's the majority of Americans. They are not hiding it. How did Christian conservative Mike Johnson go from being a Christian conservative, voting that way, legislating that way, to the Speaker of the House that actually funds that agenda? I mean, what in the world happens? And you can't help but to question, what do they have on him? Is he being blackmailed? What would make this man do this? And I would argue there's something wrong, because every single time I hear him open his mouth, he's complaining about how tired he is and talking about how he only gets 3 hours of sleep at night. Tucker, let me tell you something. And you know this too. I have worked my ass off, like, at times in my life where I'm training for triathlons, training for major competitions, working full time, raising 3 children. And at those times in my life, I was still able to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep. Busy as can be. There's something wrong with your conscience if you're only getting 3 hours of sleep at night and you're tired all the time. And it's because you are going against who you are. You're going against your inner self. You're going against the person that you are, but you're turning into something else. And I think something is seriously wrong, not only with him, but many other people in Washington, D.C.
Man, I think that's such a deep point. And thank you for making that.
I told you she's going to say some stuff in there that really starts to hit home, right? Okay, let's just go back to what Tucker's talking about. About a lot of the politicians now are starting to lie about their personal lives. Let's take it a step further. A lot of the politicians now are just plain lying. And I don't understand how this ever got to be so acceptable to the American public and nothing gets done about it. And why are they able to lie? Because they exercise their freedom of speech. And if you've never heard that before, you should watch some of the congressional hearings. Because every now and then that'll slip up when they catch somebody lying. And they'll state that. And I'm not making it up. I'm just telling you. It's ridiculous. You know, they'll censor Facebook and YouTube, and now Google's censoring Google because they think that you can't handle the truth. They're not just being an open platform of information. They want to make sure that you get the information that they think is best for you. That's why you should go to DuckDuckGo. You should look into that. Anyway, with Johnson flipping the script and heading over like he is and voting all of this stuff in, it makes you really wonder what's going on with Mike Johnson. That is one person that I never thought would falter. I mean, honestly, never thought would falter on what he was holding near and dear to this country and what he thought, you know, the American public deserved. And now seeing what he's been doing, it doesn't add up. It really doesn't, because he wasn't a person that had fear. He was a person that had understanding, and he wanted right and wrong to be distinctive and do the right thing. That's Mike Johnson. And now it's not that I'm saying, oh my gosh, it's because it's Democrat and all that stuff. The things that they're funding that Mike was against and he's all for, they're bad. They're bad. They hurt our country. They continue to hurt our country. And the more and more it continues on, the worse things are going to get for all of us. We all can't wait until, you know, the election to come in. The election isn't a moment of salvation, because guess what? We still have to go through the election. And, you know, hopefully the best candidate will win. That'll help the country. Either way, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe. Put some things in the comments. We really need to hear some of that. We need you to also pay attention. Our next segment's going to have a little bit of this, because Tucker Carlson, we're going to do another segment with him, and it has something to do with what Tucker has discovered that some of our government can do to some of the politicians that causes them to change their mind the way that it does. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back with another video here pretty quick. And do me a favor, whatever it is, wherever you're at, day, night, it doesn't matter. I hope you're having the best, whatever it is, wherever you're at. And remember, we love each and every one of you. So you take care of yourself, and we'll see you back here again. Thumbs up.